Hello YouTube, this is Dr. Ronald W. Satz, founder and chair of the International Society of Unified Science and president of TransPower Corporation, a commercial and custom software manufacturing and certified systems engineering company. I work as a systems and mechanical engineer and as a theoretical physicist. Today, as usual with my screencast, we'll be discussing the reciprocal system of theory and how it compares with conventional theory. The screencasts are based on my original WordPress blogs at reciprocalsystem.guru, but I do annotate them for YouTube. Okay, we have two topics today: record-breaking outbursts from a so-called black hole and eruptions from the center of our galaxy. So these two topics are quite related. So as usual, we like to go to Science Daily to get the latest research news. Of course, the news there is from the establishment, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. So it says here, last September, that would be September of 2014, after years of watching, astronomers observed and recorded the largest ever flare in X-rays from a supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way. So let's see if there's anything else worth reporting here. It says, quote, supermassive black holes are the largest of black holes, and all large galaxies have one. The one at the center of our galaxy, the Milky Way, is called Sagittarius A star, and scientists estimate that it contains about 4.5 million times the mass of our Sun. That's pretty big. Let's just come down here. One of the scientists named Haggard and her team say that they have two main ideas about what could be causing SGR A star to erupt in this extreme way. One hypothesis is that the gravity of the supermassive black hole has torn apart a couple of asteroids that wandered too close. The debris from such tidal disruption would become very hot and produce X-rays before disappearing forever across the black hole's point of no return. Scrolling down to another different idea is that the magnetic field lines within the material flowing towards SGR A star and packed incredibly tightly are packed incredibly tightly, If this were the case, these field lines would occasionally interconnect and reconfigure themselves. I say the magnetic energy is converted into the energy of motion, heat, and acceleration of particles. This is really nonsense, but okay, let's go back. And I say here, what a joke. According to conventional theory, black holes are not supposed to have any outbursts. But in the reciprocal system, black holes do not exist. The observed concentrations of matter are really, quote, white dwarf cores. White dwarf cores. Novas occur periodically in white dwarfs and white dwarf cores. These are the source of the outbursts of X-rays and gas particles. Also, in some cases, with high enough energy resulting from supernovae in the core, galaxies can produce jets of material, and eventually they can eject groups of stars, which we call the quasars. So the whole black hole theory is nonsense. First of all, in the real world, singularities cannot exist. And to say that something that can become practically infinitely dense is garbage. So we reject that entirely. The white dwarf cores eventually expand out or explode out. So it's just nonsense. Most of modern theoretical physics is absolute garbage. All right, let's go on to the second topic, which is related to this: eruptions from the center of our galaxy. And again, we're at Science Daily, our favorite source for research news. It says here, Milky Way core drives wind at 2 million miles per hour. At a time when our earliest human ancestors, 2 million years ago, had recently mastered walking upright, the heart of our Milky Way galaxy underwent a titanic eruption, driving gases and other material outward at 2 million miles per hour. Now, at least 2 million years later, astronomers are witnessing the aftermath of the explosion, billowing clouds of gas towering about 30,000 light years above and below the plane of our galaxy. Wow. So let's see. It says here the enormous structure was discovered 5 years ago as a gamma-ray glow in the sky in the direction of the galactic center. So this is kind of amusing to me. We're all told that the center of our galaxy and every galaxy has a black hole, and black holes cannot emit any matter. Not even light can escape, so they tell us. And yet we have this huge eruption coming from the center. So it's kind of laughable. I'm not going to waste any more time on this article. I'm going to go back. Now I'm going to quote from my theoretical physics and theoretical economics mentor, Dewey B. Larson, most logical person I ever worked with. I'm going to quote from his astrophysical masterpiece, The Universe of Motion, page 370. Quote, "The cores of these galaxies, including the Milky Way, are in the same physical condition as the white dwarf stars and the quasars. That is, their density is abnormally high because introduction of the time displacement of the upper range speeds has reduced the equivalent space occupied by the central portions of the galaxies. In brief, we may say that the reason for the abnormal density in the older and larger galaxies is that these galaxies have white dwarf cores. Not white dwarfs in the core, but cores in which the constituent stars and particles are in the same condition as the constituent particles of a white dwarf star." End quote. Now, moving on to page 371, I'm quoting Dewey B. Larson again from The Universe of Motion. "On this basis, it is estimated that there are about 70 million solar masses within 10 parsecs of the center of the core, and that the density in the innermost volume of 0.1 parsec radius is 100 million times the star density in the vicinity of the Sun." And that's footnote 274, actually, there. "On first consideration, such a concentration may seem incredibly large, but when it is realized that this observed high spatial density is actually a very low density in time, it becomes evident that the observed magnitude is not out of line with other limiting densities. For instance, the density of solid matter at zero temperature and pressure is in the neighborhood of 100 million times the density of the most diffuse stars. The radiation in the near-infrared comes from stars that are moving at upper range speeds, which accounts for their high spatial density, but are composed of particles whose speeds, which are temperatures, are in the range below unity, which accounts for the thermal character of the radiation. In addition to this type of radiation, there is also a very intense radiation in the far infrared, a non-thermal radiation that, quote, is presumed to be synchrotron radiation." I mean, that's what the conventional theorists say, synchrotron radiation. "In the light of the findings detailed in the preceding pages, it is evident that this presumption is incorrect and that the non-thermal radiation, both the infrared and the associated radio emission, originates from isotopic adjustments in matter that has been accelerated to upper range speeds." And I should parenthetically note here, Dewey means above C. "The existence of radiation of this nature identifies the Milky Way galaxy as one that has a good start toward the buildup of matter with speeds in the upper ranges, which will eventually lead to the kind of gigantic explosion that ejects a quasar." Wow. All of you guys and gals should read The Universe of Motion for sure. Okay, that wraps it up for today. For the simplest possible treatment of the reciprocal system, obtain my work, The Unmysterious Universe, available from Amazon.com and TranspowerCorp.com. Simplest explanation, all the concepts are there with numerous illustrations. Now, if you want all the mathematics, you should obtain my work, Existence and Interactions, a computational treatise of the reciprocal system, the true theory of everything. 711 pages in the PDF, 711 slides in the PowerPoint file. Thousands and thousands of equations, numerous diagrams, tables, everything. It'll keep you busy for months. After you master that work, then you can go on to my two database modules, the Reciprocal System Microcosmos database and the Reciprocal System Macrocosmos database. The Microcosmos database has all the properties of matter for, let's say, and photons. So properties of photons, subatoms, atoms, compounds, and alloys. And the Macrocosmos database has all the properties of the astrophysical world for the universe as a whole. Galaxy clusters, galaxies, star clusters, stars, planets, moons, minor bodies, nebulae, and voids. These two modules together verify the reciprocal system theory as the true theory of the universe because they contain thousands and thousands of calculations. But it's up to you to prove the theory for yourself. So get all these works, and don't forget that My company provides free email support to all customers in good standing. So again, study the reciprocal system and prove it for yourself. Thanks for your attention.